Okay, so I've decided I'm going to do this again for week 2 to do a review because we did some really great stuff last night. We had some good conversation. I rethought some of the due dates for this first section, and I want to go over that. And then I want to just give you some heads up on some other things. So first, I did change my mind after rethinking kind of the whole first develop it. And here's what I've done. Where I had it before was at the end of the 3rd week. So I've moved it into the 4th week, and I haven't placed any other items due that night. So you would have completed the work after here for finishing the note app, and then you would have a week of just working on your version of whatever that is to work on. But again, and I'm going to give you an encouragement here, in next week's classwork, part of what I'm going to do is part of what your work will be for that is actually to provide me your at least initial paragraph of what your app's going to do, or what, at least have something in mind that you're going to develop, because I really suggested actually by next week you not only have it written, but you also set up your branch and start coding up what we coded up for the Day2 code up, right? So the 8 through 15. So I'm just going to say, right, I'm giving you an incentive because you know that part of classwork is going to be that next week. I am extending it a little bit because this is such an important part of our class. And I get that I'm kind of speeding through. I'm not giving you enough lab time. So that's the other thing is next week, definitely talking less, coding more next week. But you do need to have your code up done before you get there. We will do maybe a challenge or two. But most of the classwork will come from what we talked about, right? What I talked about here, which is having your paragraph ready. Okay, so the other thing is I graded the quiz that I gave you all last night, and you should definitely see an improvement in your grade for those of you that took it. I realized I took it offline because I thought, well, I only want students showing up. But I thought, you know what? It's not a bad thing. So I'm actually going to show you how I'm going to put it back. But know that at this point, if you submit this, that it is going to be late. Okay? And if you've already taken it, don't take it again. So here's the other thing about this, and this was just a link to the lecture material about why Node.js. So here's the other thing, is if you didn't get a perfect 15, because I realized I had messed up with the in-class challenges, I will allow you 5 points if you send me your in-class challenges, because we did objects and arrays, and you should have done it on a branch day 2. So just email me that branch, and if you finish that, I will apply 5 points to whatever your score was. And that's what I realized in the future when I do stuff like this, as I can do, is have part of the quiz just be a place to play. In the quiz, I would place a text box that you would just put in your code along, or your challenge, whatever we've done in class for that. Okay, so hopefully that clarifies a few things. The other thing, and I want to say this because I want to encourage you, is in week 0, there is a link to a chat. Aaron was on there last night. But it's just good to have, and if you haven't taken my classes before, you will see, if you haven't, but I do run chats for all of my classes, and it's really helpful because there's going to be times that you have questions that I won't be around. And so having other classmates that you can easily reach out to and do that, I think is really helpful. Okay. I think that was it. I think those were the big things that I wanted to talk about. I'm sure there was probably another topic. Do remember when you submit, now this code up will be due before class starts next week. And several of you got this, but some of you didn't. Make sure you're giving me a link to, and I'm going to go ahead and log into GitHub real quick so I can show you, because some of you didn't give me, not the right link. Make sure you give me a link to your branch. So here's what I mean by that. So in the example of last night, just in my repo, right? What you would want to do here is give me the day 2. Now day 2 was in class, so actually the code up would be, and this was kind of the funny that I said nodes, and it should have been notes, right? But this is the link. If you look up here, it tells you the tree that you're on, and in that case it means a branch, right? It's notes. So this is the link you need to be giving me. And then and when I look for your commits, and again the commit should be done after every lecture, it's good to have at least some kind of designation of which one you finished. And I recommended last night, so if you didn't hear me, let me show you, is that you use the MD file. I don't have it open yet, so let me just quickly open it. I recommend for each branch, specifically in this case in the code up that we're doing, so like on my node branch, right, I could use this readme file that's already set up as a place to take my notes as I'm working through this work. So I think that's a great way to do it, because that is just a standard file that should be there. Because remember, every time, and this is what we talked about, is that every time before you make a new branch, now we won't make a new branch for the code up yet. I have to, oh, see, I made a mistake last night. These two files right here should have been on my day 2, right, work. And they were, but for some reason they're showing up on master, so I gotta play with that and see what I did. Right, so I must have just not changed, or somehow they got in there. But they're not tracked at this point, so I can just delete them and they won't show up there. So getting used to this whole workflow, I know can take some getting used to. So it's important though that you do, and you reach out for help when you need it. So hopefully that at least gives you a little more, and it gives you hopefully an understanding. But just to end, promise with this is that we went over last night the idea of what your first app is, and it's like taking the concepts and the features and the implementations in the Note app, right, and recreating that first, creating that with your own subject matter, and then extending it, right? So if you want full points for this work, what you'll do is I will see the implementation of the things that we saw in the Note app for your own context, your own subject matter, your own business idea, and then you will extend it. You will add at least a couple of features to it that we didn't see in the Notes app as a way that you're extending your knowledge. Okay, and I've said draft here because I want us to end class next week, and that's what I would say with this last message to you. I want you to think about this, and then let's together finalize this development requirements list. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.